everyone. I hope you all are doing well today. Welcome to yet another episode of the Weekend Club series. Before starting today's video, I have an announcement to make. My very first e-course learning module, which is on fundamentals of business communication for working professionals, is out there on Udemy. It's a 3-hour course with lots of downloadable resources, materials, and also quizzes in between. So do check it out. The link is mentioned in the description box below. I've also shared a referral code. If you wish to enroll for the course, you will get some discounts. So if you are enrolling, I'll see you on that side. And before we start today's video, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Well, today's video is going to be around the importance of introductions, because you do not get a second chance to create first impressions. So today's conversations is going to be around how to introduce oneself like a pro. What are the common mistakes that we make while introducing oneself in both professional and personal setup? You will get gist of it as we proceed further. So let's get started. Hi Rahul, hi Gaurav. So in today's conversation, we are going to discuss things related on around introductions. So my first question is, why do you think introductions are important in both personal and professional life? And how do you think our introductions that we give to people shapes the perception, shapes the connection around us for the people that we meet and greet on our daily basis? So Gaurav, let's start with you.
Hey Namrata, hey Rahul. Yeah, so that's a really good topic of discussion, I think. Yeah, and with introductions, I think irrespective of if it's professional or personal, the purpose is always to leave an impression, right? And then the content might change in the way we want to do an introduction, or the points we want to highlight about ourselves will definitely leave will definitely act as a nucleation point about the connection that you make with the other person. But at the end, I think in both the settings, it does remain crucial in terms of the first impressions.
Yeah. So I think, in professional environment, of course, we are bound to say more about our educational qualifications, and also our work experiences. So I think that is a bit important. And on a personal setting, I believe it's of course a choice to include professional things or not, but there actually we get the opportunity to share more about what we like. For example, like I like automotives, so I can share a bit about automotives. If someone likes running, someone can share their hobby, what they're passionate about. Someone are quite passionate about the sustainable environmental causes, and also like general things like where we live, with people we live, if we have a dog or not, if we live with a partner or something.
Yeah, that's a very crucial point that Rahul mentioned, right? That the focuses are different. And I think in a professional setup, you do definitely want to highlight your professional or academic achievements or qualities. But I think the personality side, or the softer individual side, also do play a role in that as well, but in a much passive way, which we cannot talk about it as loudly as we would want to, or we should, or whatever, but it comes out in a perceived manner from the audience or the listener.
Right.
And I think in a personal setup also, I think what Rahul said is definitely true, that we just focus more on our social aspects and we can be more expressive about our individual things. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think, and so my next question to both of you is that you both are basically from India. You both have been born and brought up in India and then shifted to different countries. So is there a different way that you found out when you shifted to Sweden and Germany, that people introduce themselves in a subtle or a different way than we know that we do in India? Is there a different way or a format that people in your respective countries right now introduce themselves?
I mean, I think the major observation I made was like, first of all, in India we think work is our life, and here, like, uh, by listening to people and their introductions and other things, I figured out that work is part of their life, not their life. In most cases, I mean, of course, there are people who are quite ambitious. And also, another thing was, so they put a lot of focus here and emphasis on where they live, with whom they live, what are their hobbies, and yeah, also work is a part of that, of course. And also, if how they are living. For example, if we are living with a partner, then we put quite a lot of emphasis on partner and work, and leave our hobbies aside. So the most distinct thing I felt here was the personal space also was given a bit of importance, where what do you think, what are your passions and hobbies, and of course there is also an element of work and family included.
That's really interesting. So, share us with example. Like, if you are introducing yourself in a Swedish way, how will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I can share, like, hi, I'm Rahul. I'm born in 98. I live in Sandviken, a small town in Sweden. I really like going to nature, and forest is very close to me. I am a big automotive fan, so I like being updated with car and technologies. I work at Sandvik also, and I am currently living alone, but I'm quite close to my family.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, is there any other way that people in German introduce themselves, Gaurav, whereas how we do in India?
Yeah, I think what Rahul said is definitely true. I think across Europe, to a large extent, where the personal life is also kind of given equal or sometimes even more importance than just your 9 to 5 gig, right? And I think that also translates to introductions. But I think it's also, for example, in the setup that I've been trained or whatever, right, which is mostly academic circles and academic environment, professionally as well. There, it always comes down to like your project or your like. If now I go and introduce myself, even in a social setting, it starts with, oh, I'm from India, and then it goes on to like, I'm doing a PhD in X, Y, and Z, and then it's about that, because that's also like a big part of your identity as well. And then of course the hobbies come in, like, oh, I like to play chess, I like to go bouldering or this or that. And then like also this thing, right, like for example, since we are internationals, the interaction dynamics also change a bit, where for example, just talking about yourself, like the first thing, the name itself is a conversation starter and a hook point. Just yesterday I was meeting, we were gathering, and then we had this like a new person or so, and then she was like, oh yeah, I remember your name because of like the reference to Gouda cheese. Right? And because this was a running joke that we had, that like if people are like unable to pronounce my name or are having difficulty remembering it, we were like, okay, you know, like what, just remember Gouda cheese, and then from there Gouda was easier. So I think introduction or like the impressions and all of these things kind of, yeah, I wouldn't say I know the classic German way or so culturally, but I think this is how it ends up being in my case personally.
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe that our introduction speaks a lot about our personality and our priorities in life. I mean, just by hearing someone's introduction, we can make out that what is their topmost priority in life, or what are they most proud about in their life. For instance, if someone is speaking a lot about their professional achievements in their introductions, then we know that their priority is more into their workspace. If someone is saying a lot about their educational qualifications in their introductions, then we can understand that the pride in their life at present is more about the qualifications that they have achieved. And sometimes if a person speaks a lot about the family, the culture, the place that they are from, or maybe residing in, then again we can understand that what are they enjoying most in their life right now. That's why I believe that we can make a lot about the person just from that 1 minute that we hear about the introduction. And that is why I think introductions are very, very important. So, saying that, I mean, not all introductions are fun to hear, or not all introductions are even pleasant or worthy that we find interesting to meet the person. So, what do you think that? What are the common mistakes that people make while introducing themselves? Uh, I mean, what do you think that one should not do while introducing?
Uh, I think the most I struggle with personally is like probably too short introduction in many cases, and I have also noticed like some introduction being quite long. So I mean, what is the length and the duration of the introduction is very important, and people also often struggle with, and also the context of the introduction. So maybe informally we don't need so much formal introduction, and formally it needs to be a little bit different. So the context and duration is what I can think about.
So, when do you think one should give short introductions, and when do you think one should elaborate more on their introductions?
I mean, if we are going to have the meeting or formal informal meeting for longer duration, then probably it's nice to have like a little bit elaborate introduction. If it's just like a little bit more than a hello kind of meet, then it should be short, I believe.
And what about you, Gaurav? What do you think that what are the common mistakes that people make in introductions, or any experience that you both think about that, you gave an introduction that you felt was a disaster, or maybe fun to even go on a flashback and share your as an anecdote, or maybe someone else's introduction without saying names that you felt that that went really miserable or wrong. So if you want to
Yeah.
share something around that.
Yeah, sure. So I think, in my opinion, like the with introduction thing, it's like sometimes, which happens a lot with us, right? Like the academic people, and has happened with me for sure a lot of times, where like because you're working so much in a certain thing and obsessively a lot of times, you you give it too much importance, but then you forget that the other person does not care as much, at least, right? So you kind of can go on blabbing about it, but then you forget that like that person will lose interest about that topic after 10 seconds more. Like you don't need that thing to be for more than that. And then other thing I think is also like with like for example, like what happened with me was when I had my PhD interview with my professor. I was very much like during my master's, I was like, okay, I'm going for an interview. The person is like should be caring about what I've worked with in my master thesis, what type of courses I've done, this and that. And then my seniors, my friends, they forced me to know, like, you in your presentation, in your introduction thing, you have to include your hobbies and your social aspect as well, otherwise it won't work. And I'm like, no, but why should that person care? Right? And then like they forced me to do it, so I was like, okay, yeah, half-heartedly I put, like, even in my CV I was like not going to put anything, and then I put just like icons about this, and not even words, because I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. But then when like I had my interview like on a Zoom call, because it was still COVID times, I had the last slide. I had like my master thesis done shortly in like 8 to 9 minutes, and then the last slide with acknowledgement and so on. I also had my kind of like, oh, so I like to go hiking, I also like playing chess, this and that. And that's where, like, with the photos and everything, and that's where kind of we had a click socially with the supervisor, where she's like, oh, so you've been to this place as well, oh, have you explored this region, or have you been to this place in Bavaria, and so on. And then like, so that also did become like a connecting point, and I was like, okay, yeah, it does matter. So I think if I hadn't done it, like, it's hard to say if you get the position or no, right? But if I hadn't done it, I think it would have been my whole pitch or my whole presentation, whatever, would have been less impactful.
No,
So I think it does play a role.
um,
Yeah.
I mean, across the globe, I have seen that it's an ongoing debate between different sorts of human resource managers and personals. There is one side of the coin who believes that just be direct, be to say to the point what skills you bring to the table in terms of recruitment and applying for applications. And on the other side, there are people who say that no, we want to connect, we want to know, because after all, we are going to be a team. So there are two sides, it's divided into two sides. But I personally believe that mentioning something related to our personal life, not too much, but at least hobbies, really is a ice breaking between the two professionals. So it's always fun to mention if you are comfortable with. I mean, since we are discussing about the common mistakes that people make while giving their introductions, and about long and short formats, what Rahul mentioned, that sometimes people do make mistakes in terms of where there is no need to give long introductions, people tend to elaborate things, and where there is really actually needed to elaborate it, people just finish it in like one or two sentences. So I in that specific context, I feel that it always looks good on the picture for the audience when the long format introductions are made by someone else for us. Like, I would not be comfortable bragging things about me in one or two paragraphs, saying my achievements. But if I am going somewhere in a panel discussion, or I am public speaking somewhere, and if the orator, the host, or the moderator of that event is introducing me, then I would be comfortable that okay, if whatever they want to mention, but I would not personally say one paragraph about me. And whereas in terms of, if I have to primarily introduce myself uh, directly to someone, I would maximum say 3 lines, and then try to ask few things about that person, and try to find some commonalities that I would have with that person. And then I would like to ask the person that, oh really, that's interesting, I'm not aware about the subject, can you share it with more, I would love to know it and gain knowledge from you. And that's how the connection builds, I believe. That just bragging about myself and giving introductions, because I don't know if the person is really interested in knowing about me or not. Most of the times people are not interested to know much about other person, but they love to talk about themselves. So I always take that opportunity to ask a lot of questions of the other person that I'm meeting in a professional setup. And I like to ask them that, okay, tell me about the subject that you're working on, I would love to know more about. And that's how the connection most of the time builds very strong. So I think people can do that whenever they are introducing themselves. More than speaking, try to ask things to other person.
But do you have any like a structured approach when like some places we are bound to make an introduction about ourselves in formal settings? Like, do you think there is like a standard way of doing it or some?
I mean, there is no one single standard method or a right or wrong way of introducing oneself. It is all about one's personality, their own way of introducing. But yes, when it comes to when I conduct my training sessions, especially in campus to corporate training sessions, I use a couple of frameworks and methods to teach the students. Now, in this episode, we don't have all the time that I will share all the methods and frameworks, but I can share two which might benefit the people who are watching this when it comes to introducing themselves. So one of the method that I personally use, especially when it's a public speaking platform, or if I have to introduce myself in my e-modules that I conduct and sell to B2B clients. So I usually introduce myself in terms of 4 E's. So the first E is education, second is experience, my professional experience to be precise, the environment that I come from, and the exposure that I've received in my life. Because it summarizes the whole personality, the human that I am, in terms of introducing in a professional manner. So when it comes to my education, I am a double postgraduate. I've done both my masters full time. while attending colleges. So I've done my master's MSc in Program and Project Management from University of Warwick, based in UK. I did my PGDM in Marketing from MIT School of Business, which is based in Pune, India. Then I did my Bachelor's of Commerce from Saurashtra University in Jamnagar, which is my hometown. And I'm also Visharad in Kathak, which is an Indian classical dance form. So it's a degree equivalent to Bachelor's in Performing Arts. So that summarizes my educational qualifications. Coming to my professional experience, I started my first job in 2015 and it's 2025, so 10 years of work experience. My profile mostly involved roles in corporate communication, project management, corporate social responsibility. And I've worked with companies like Cafe Coffee Day Group, to be precise, Coffee Day Beverages, which is the vending machine division, Lodestar, which is a media agency, Yuva Unstoppable, one of the best CSR implementer non-profit organization in India, and Balak Metals Private Limited, which is my family business. So I'm the third generation. When it comes to expressing about the environment that I come from, so I have been born and brought up in India. I come from a background of joint family with a strong value system, very connected with my family. As I just mentioned about Balark, which is my family business, which was started by my grandfather in 1966. And my roots of dance, which is especially in Kathak, it gave me a lot of understanding of different emotions at large, about emotional quotient in humans, because Indian classical involves a lot about expressing, understanding feelings, emotions. So it did give me a lot of knowledge about emotional intelligence in humans. About exposure, I have traveled to 12 countries and 18 states of India. So because of that, I feel that my perspective towards life, towards people, towards culture, towards diversity has broadened a lot. I'm able to think critically in many areas of life because of the exposure, the travels that I've made in my life till now. I can also connect with diverse people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, ethnicity, languages, food as well. So that really helps me to network with people even in my professional life. And in 2019-20, when I was studying in UK, I got an opportunity to co-author on a case study with London School of Economics on the topic Sustainable Human Capital in Non-Profit Organizations of India, which was headed by the India Observatory Center, which is operated in the London School of Economics. So that's how pretty much I summarize myself in terms of 4 E's when I have to introduce myself in long formats, not short formats. So one can apply this method when they are introducing themselves in a public platform, especially. 4 E's are very useful, not in a one-on-one connection introductions, but when you are addressing a larger audience. And there is one another method which, more than introductions, this helps for people to crack interviews, be it in their college life or in their professional life while going for a job. Now, this method is called STAR method. Many of the audience might already be aware about it, widely used across multinational companies as of today. Now, S stands for situation, T stands for task, A stands for action, and R stands for result. So I'll just give a hypothetical example. So let's take a scenario. If my interviewer asks me that, tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult client or a stakeholder, then I'll answer this question by applying the STAR method. So let's say I'll share about the situation that in my previous organization, in my previous role as a project coordinator at a consulting firm, I managed a client who kept changing requirements after approvals, causing delays. So the task that I had was to manage the client's expectations and bring the project back to on track without affecting team's morale or deadlines. And the action that I took after that was I arranged a face to face meeting with the client to understand their concerns and align the team on a flexible change request process. So I also introduced a change log tracker because we live in the technological world today, and made communication more transparent with weekly updates. So, as a result, the client appreciated the structured communication. The project was completed only 5 days behind schedule. So, be realistic when you answer, because sometimes we brag so much when it comes to result, but be realistic that the project was not completed on time, but only 5 days behind the schedule instead of 3 weeks, which was expected. And the client gave us a 9 out of 10 rating in the feedback. So, that summarizes our involvement, our ownership at work, our accountability towards the things that we take responsibility at our workplace. So yeah, I mean, these are the two frameworks that I could think of to share in this episode on social media, but I'm sure there are a lot more methods. And at last, I would say to all the audience watching this that be your authentic self. Sometimes in the path of memorizing a lot of concepts, frameworks, methods, one misses out to be their own authentic self. So when you are introducing yourself, even if it's very important for you, for the person that you are meeting, and you need to crack the deal, but still be your authentic self. That's the baseline. You don't need to remember a lot of frameworks or methods.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very nice to reflect how we introduce and also on the challenges of what challenges we face. And I think it's also nice to see the structure which you presented. The next step would be trying to incorporate it to have a natural flow again, not like make it look very prepared or unnatural. So, yeah, I think it was fun.
This was definitely very helpful, especially the structures, because for a person like me, I'm really chaotic, and as you say, like mugging up doesn't work for me. And so every time I introduce myself in different settings, it somehow works, but it's always different. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, oh, I could have also said this and that. And I think having this kind of a structure in the back of your mind can help remembering, or not remembering, but rather like organizing your thoughts much better when you like vomit out words. So I think this would be really nice to go through also. Yeah. Thanks.
And so that's it for today's video. I really hope this video was fun for you. The conversation helped you somewhere, got you some insights that you can apply in your next job interview, or maybe when you are introducing yourself in a formal or an informal setup. So stay tuned for many more such videos related to management. I'll see you next week.